All right. Welcome into class, American History students. This is semester B of American History. Today, we are just going to go through how to outline the first lesson of the course, do a brief introduction, and get you started on that. You guys can take it where you want. But outlining for me is one of the most important skills you can take from my classes. Basically, it's you interacting with the course. It's kind of like it's same thing with outlining a textbook. So I'm going to show you how. So open here, I have the American History course, the whole thing. See your landing page here. I'm going to go into, hopefully you've already done your resources, you're getting started, and all the other things that you have here, okay? So we're going to get started on the Great Depression New Deal, the first module. Now, one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new Google Doc, okay? You can go here to your little waffle, start a doc, and there's your new blank one, okay? And so the Great Depression and the New Deal. This is one of my favorite topics to learn about, to write about, to just to explore because the lessons we can learn from the Great Depression and the New Deal are very, very applicable to today. If you pay any attention to economics or what's going on, a lot of the things going on then you can see some of the parallels going on to today. So it's very important. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start a new bullet option. Okay, I like doing the uppercase letters with the little ones. And so the first lesson we get into in this module is Harding and Coolidge. So that is what we're going to do. Okay, Harding and Coolidge with an I, not an E, Frogget. Cool. Harding and Coolidge. Let's jump into it. Okay. So the first thing here is you're going to get all of our objectives. So this is the object. So this is like your first page of a textbook. Walk you through this real quick. You got your drop down menu. This is your table of contents, every part of the lesson. So you should have 11 pages, 1 out of 11. You can access that real quick. Here's your toolbars. Okay, play button. You can have it read to you. Okay, pause it, stop it. Here's a translating tool. So if English isn't your first language, you can highlight this, hit the translate, boom, turns it into Spanish or any other language you want to use. Here's a dictionary. So if you need the definition of a word, let's look at depression, see if it brings that up. It probably won't bring up the Great Depression definition, but depression. Oh, there it is, period of the 1930s. Okay. Picture dictionary definition. So let's see, depression. See if a picture dictionary. Nope, doesn't have. Oh, somebody holding their head. That's the emotion depression. Screen mask. I have no idea what that is actually. Enlarge text as it is read aloud, and then other settings you can have here within there. So first things first, I want to objectives. I want to put my objectives in here. Go back, paste without formatting. Move that in. Don't need all that. So just a little minor housekeeping as you go through. And delete the spaces there if you want, make it look good. Okay, so those are the 3 objectives. And then we can also go to a new one. Here's keywords. All right, copy, paste without formatting, go over, copy, and paste without formatting. So now I have all my objectives and my keywords. As you're going through the rest of the lesson through these pages, now you have an opportunity to fill in some information with that if you really wanted to. Okay. Okay. So I'm just giving myself some space there to write. Let's go to the next page. Or we can, let me do that bold, clearly identify my new pages. Okay, now we're on B. Let's go here. Happy days are here again. So let's go ahead and put that title.
Good. Did you finish them? Not all of them? But you still do it.
So there we go, new bolded title. And here, as we get a new page, a lot of times we get some different ideas in the first sentence. So the Roaring Twenties was a decade of prosperity for many Americans, but also sowed the seeds of the Great Depression. So this is actually a good thing to add.
Cool. Okay. Just make sure
Get rid of the bold
before you leave for me, okay?
and paste it without formatting. Okay, so that's a good information. Decade of prosperity for many Americans, but it also sowed the seeds of the Great Depression. So in order to understand the bust of an economy, you got to understand the boom period. There's a boom and then a bust of it, basically the cycle of the economy. And in order to understand why the bust happened, you got to understand the boom time. So if you go from there, we can study it a little bit better. Okay. And then you can read. Okay. You can listen to the video, watch the video, transcript. Okay. So if you don't want to read this or listen to it, you can actually read it. So what were the seeds that were sowed? Okay, it started with the president. So you read this, 1920s. So we're in the 1920s. Some good times to write that down if you want to know your date periods, right? What was we coming out? We're coming out of World War I. And I got to stress that very importantly, that when you're coming out of a war, there's a lot of debt. There's a lot of hardship, personal losses, and it costs a lot of money to fight a war, and a lot of resources get wasted fighting in wars. So when you're going to see a bust generally after a war or something like that, and we'll see that as the Great Depression goes on, and then as World War II comes into being. We'll see some different interesting relationships there between economics and warfare. All right. After all, they had won the war and restored democracy. Why not focus on enjoying the rewards of victory? But throughout its decade of decadence, the United States was planting seeds of the economic disaster that was the Great Depression, an economic downturn that crippled the US economy throughout the 1930s. It lasted basically from 1929 until World War II started in the 1940s. A lot of economists argued that the only reason we got out of the Great Depression was a world war. I disagree with that statement. I think the only reason why we were able to come out of the World War with any kind of economy at all was that we were the only ones left with factories. You look at Japan, you look at Germany, you look at Great Britain, all those main industrial nations that were there with us before the Great Depression, all their factories were bombed during the World War II. So we had factories. Nobody could bomb ours because we had two oceans protecting us. And we were able to rise out of that World War II and provide the rest of the world with that industrial capability. So anyway, that's what got us out of the Great Depression in relationship to the war there. But okay, coming out of the war, there were issues. Okay. All right, start with the presidency of William Harding from 1921 to 1923 and continued with President Coolidge from 1923 to 1929. Both men wanted to shrink the federal government and build big business. That's a pretty loaded statement. Both wanted to shrink the federal government and build big business. Is that really true? I don't know. We'd have to look into the growth of big business, but do presidents have that much authority to allow big businesses to grow, or are there other things at play? Okay, both believe that American prosperity came from the free market and that any federal intervention in society was harmful at worst and distracting at best. Learn more about the new road Harding and Coolidge put the US on in this video. As you watch, ask yourself, how could the push to build the economy end up hurting it? So very cool. We can go through, watch that, and then then you can take notes on that as you go. And then finally, we can go to a new page. Okay, the return to normalcy. Let's do video notes on this. Okay. Now I'm going to do a new page, the return to normalcy. Okay. And what was Harding's plan for American peace and prosperity? Good conversation starter or note guider. Okay. So what was his plan? Let's read and find out. Gave a speech in Boston, which he outlined how America would get back on track after the upheaval of the First World War. He believed the nation needed to return to normalcy, by which he meant focusing on steady economic growth through business. Okay. Enter, another tab over. Boom, here's my answer. Paste without formatting. So I was able to find the answer right in my text. And then as you keep going, you can keep answering questions. If you see things you find intriguing, interesting, write them down. But every page, you definitely want to have some kind of information, okay? And go from there. If you have any questions, you have my email address on the landing page, my Zoom link. You're more than welcome to join. Hope to hear from you soon. Thank you and have a good day.